What's going on there, guys? Mike here, coming at you from Badlands Paintball. Well, recently on our Facebook page, we actually got a request by a customer for us to take a look at the 12-inch tactical barrel with rails built in. This is by Killhouse Weapon Systems. I didn't want to do a video on just this barrel alone, so I figured that I would show you guys actually a few of the other offerings from Killhouse Weapon Systems in terms of barrel shrouds. So these are all barrel shrouds that will mount directly onto your barrel itself. There are a number of shrouds that will mount to the body and barrel, but I'm just going to cover the actual shrouds that mount to your barrel today. I've also got a few of the Killhouse Weapon Systems silencers in front of me here, because they actually do mount to that particular paintball barrel there. I'm just going to show you which barrels work on some of these shrouds, which ones don't, and how to actually install them. So if you come a little bit closer here, I'll show you each shroud individually and which barrels work for them. Alright guys, so I've got a few different barrels in front of me here that we can kind of compare with our shrouds, see which ones are going to work, which ones might not. For starters, I do have the Headhunter Barrel here by Killhouse Weapon Systems. This is going to be your most standard size barrel that you're going to find out there. It's a completely straight barrel, so it doesn't have any sort of curves or variations in it. It has a very common external diameter here. So this is going to be what most of your standard tactical barrels out there are going to look like. The design they're going to have. Having a nice straight streamlined design is going to be ideal for these shrouds, as you know what, you're not going to have to shift anything around, you're not going to have to find those flat surfaces and perhaps have the shroud a little bit too far forward or a little bit too far back. So having a nice straight surface is going to be ideal for all shrouds. I also do have the Apex 2 barrel here, so this is taking that outer diameter up a notch. It's a significantly wider barrel overall. Now for quite a number of the Killhouse Weapon Systems barrels, this won't work, but there's actually a few that it will. So I'll show you the shroud that this will work with. Now the last one here is going to be an extremely wide diameter barrel. This is actually the barrel that you'll find on Sierra ones and Bravo ones. Unfortunately, just due to the width of this barrel, it's very hard to fit it inside of shrouds. Shrouds, one way or another, they do actually have to tighten down on barrels, and the width of the actual metal of the shroud itself is going to determine how long our screws are going to be. If you open up the hole too wide and your screws aren't long enough to actually twist down into the smaller, more common barrels, you're going to have a problem. So unfortunately, Killhouse Weapon Systems had to make that barrel or the shroud diameter tight enough that the screws could actually reach and catch barrels. So unfortunately, if you have something as wide as this Sierra 1 barrel or the Bravo 1 barrel, you're not going to be able to use a lot of aftermarket shrouds, and that includes these Killhouse Weapon System ones. So bummer for any of you guys that do have this stock barrel, but you know what, all you'd have to do, and it's a pretty good upgrade to do anyway, is grab yourself a little bit more advanced barrel like this Headhunter here, and you're not going to have any issues. Now the other type of barrel that I don't have in front of me is a carbon fiber barrel. Now carbon fiber barrels, we're not going to recommend that you use with any sort of barrel mounted shroud, as barrel mounted shrouds will actually screw onto your barrel. Carbon fiber barrels, if you screw onto them, you might end up stripping them a little bit, and then you can actually peel that carbon fiber somewhat. Whereas a nice sturdy metal barrel like this one here, you can screw into it, you're not going to have any sort of problems, and you know what, you're just going to be that much safer. So you don't want to end up ruining the actual construction of your barrel. A few scratches aren't a big deal, but carbon fiber barrels may be ruined, so you won't want to use those. So I'm going to shift Sierra 1 barrel off to the side there. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use that one, and we will bring in our first shroud here. So this is the super tiny 5-inch Killhouse Weapon Systems shroud. Really awesome, kind of like a small tiny submachine gun type look if you want to still have Picatinny rails on the sides. This does have 4 all metal Picatinny rails on it. Really cool in that regard. It's going to end up looking really nice with some of our other 5-inch suppressors here. So this 5.5 inch is just awesome. It looks really great, and it's going to perform really well too. Now unfortunately with this particular shroud, because it is so thin, it is really only going to work for barrels like your standard one here, the Headhunter barrel. So you can actually slide this right on through here, and right out the back. Now, all of these shrouds will again bolt onto your barrel, and lining them up is going to be the biggest key. So what you'll want to do with this barrel here is, again, you're going to slide it on just like you saw here. Now keep in mind that both the front and the back can be screwed off. So if you want to slide these pieces on individually, just like this front ring, you absolutely can. The back ring comes off as well too, as I'll show you in a second. So you could always thread that front ring on and then thread the back on here and twist it all together. But how you're going to want to play this is you're going to attach it just like so. You're going to thread this barrel all the way onto your gun so it's completely solid on the paintball gun itself, and then you're going to line up this shroud, whether or not you want it to be on 45-degree angles or whether or not you want it to be straight up and down with a vertical grip maybe underneath. You're going to want to line it up the way that you want to have it, and then you will tighten down this screw right here. So on this back block, which of course can thread on and off itself as well too, there's one screw that you can tighten down once you have the barrel actually lined up where you want it to be sitting, the shroud I should say. And then once that is tightened down, you can actually twist off the remainder of that shroud, just like so. That's going to actually stay in the exact same place. Now there's 3 individual screws that you want to tighten down to really solidify the shroud. So now I can tighten down each one of those screws. 2, 3. You want to give a good hand tighten on those. And now that's going to be completely secure on there. Now I can thread on my shroud again. Bam, and it's going to be sitting flush on your paintball gun, on your barrel. If you tighten down all of these screws before actually screwing it onto your paintball gun, you might not have it set up properly. It might be off-kiltered, it might be set up in all sorts of different positions. So you really want to thread it onto your gun first, get it solidified, tighten down that first screw, then strip off the rest, and tighten down those 3 remaining screws on there. So really easy peasy to install this particular shroud. There's just 4 screws that you have to tighten, and you just have to make sure you have a barrel that is actually thin enough to fit inside of this shroud. And that's just going to be your standard style of barrel that's going to fit in this one. So I can twist these all off again, just like so. Slide that off the back, slide the entire barrel off. We're good to go. So next one we're going to want to look at here is going to be the 7-inch all-metal shroud. Now this one is actually going to be a little more universal. It can accept quite a number of barrels, even barrels as thick as your Apex 2 here. So that can actually slide right through there, as you can see. Now again, unfortunately, the Sierra 1 barrels are just too thick to get in here. You can actually use this barrel without this front ring on the inside, and you could even flush back in a silencer, for example, but the internal piece that actually clamps to the barrel is still too thin as well. So unfortunately, Sierra 1 barrels will not work, but Apex barrels will. And this shroud works the exact same way as the other Killhouse Weapon Systems shroud works. You're going to want to thread this all the way onto your gun, your barrel. Then you're going to line up the shroud, make sure it's nice and solid, make sure it's nice and straight. Then you're going to have 4 screws on the back that you're going to want to tighten up. 1 right here, 2, 3, and 4. Tighten down each one of those individual screws, and then there's actually some screws on the front that you'll want to tighten down as well. Now to gain access to those screws, you actually have to loosen off these larger ones here. So I'm going to loosen off that large front screw there. Let me get at it here. Bam. Once that screw is removed, you can actually peer on through, and there will be another smaller Allen key screw that you can tighten down to this barrel. So now you're going to have 4 screws on the back and 4 screws on the front of the shroud, tightening to your barrel, making sure it's a really nice, secure fit. This is actually probably my favorite of all the shrouds. Personally, I just like the look of it, but I really like how secure it is. And then if I do want to run maybe a shorter barrel, like an 8 or a 10-inch barrel, and I want to run a silencer on it, I can actually take off that front ring, just use those 4 back screws, and actually use a silencer to flush back deep into this barrel here. So that apex barrel will work, and of course your more standard size barrel will thread in there the same as well. So again guys, thread your barrel onto your gun, line up that shroud so it's either at the 45 or the 90 position that you want to have it, and tighten down all 8 of your screws, 4 on the back and 4 on the front. Our next shroud here is going to be the all-metal 9-inch shroud, which is this guy right here. Really big, beefy, awesome feeling shroud. This is going to look really great in all sorts of assault rifles, maybe a sniper rifle. I know out at PRZ we had a really cool Takamo magazine conversion kit Phenom that we actually had this barrel mounted to with all sorts of rail covers. It just looked really slick. Now this one here does have a little bit of a thinner front, so yet again you're just going to want to use your standard width of barrel here. Unfortunately, the apex barrels will not fit in this one unless you're willing to run it without this front block. Now just like the 7-inch shroud, this shroud will tighten up on the front and on the rear. Now there are 2 sets of screws on the rear, one in the very back and one a little bit further up right here. So if you wanted to use your apex barrel, you could always use the back screws alone, tighten down those 5 screws on the rear, and then have it a little more open at the front. That's actually how we ran our sniper rifle up at PRZ there. But it's just not going to be quite as secure if you're doing putting on some really heavy duty stuff as if you have that ring mount on the front too. So if you really want to have that 9-inch shroud with a super wide barrel, you absolutely can, but you're going to be relying on the 5 screws on the back, and you're not going to have the extra screw on the front here. So just keep that in mind, guys. So when it comes to mounting your 9-inch metal shroud onto your standard, let's say, Killhouse Weapon Systems barrel here, it's going to be pretty easy. You're just going to slide that barrel right on through the entire shroud, thread the barrel onto your paintball gun, just like the other shrouds. You're going to set up either at a 45 or a nice 90-degree placement. Then you're going to tighten down this rear screw as far as you can. Now this rear screw is now going to tighten down our barrel to our shroud so that we know that it's in the correct position. At this point I can actually twist off the rest of the shroud, just like so. And now I have access to my 4 rear screws. You got 1, 2, rolling away, 3, and 4. Once I tighten down all 4 of those screws, I can thread my barrel shroud right back onto its rear cap here. Those 4 are tightened down, perfect. Now I can thread everything back together. Good, and then all I have to do is tighten down my front screw, and there's only 1 on that front cap. Tighten it all the way, bam, and I'm good to go. Now I have my barrel mounted with that 9-inch all-metal shroud, really secure on there. Feels really good. You're going to be able to mount almost anything and not have any sort of issues in terms of slippage. So that's a really great shroud all around there. That's the 9-inch all-metal shroud. Next up, we have the 12-inch tactical barrel with Picatinny rails built in. So this is actually just like our shorter all-metal shroud here that I showed you guys already, but then this one comes with your iron sights on the front here, the barrel underneath, and that barrel is just like our petrol tactical barrels, but it does have a removable tip, which is very cool. Now this particular barrel is made for the A5 or BT series. Of course, it'll also fit on your X and Phenom, so anything with those standard A5 threads, this barrel is going to mount on with no problems. Just like the other barrels, it can be tightened down. So right now I can twist it to any position that I want to, and then with the screw on the back, I can tighten down that screw and have it in the position that I like. Absolutely same thing with the front shroud here, or with the front iron sight. There's a screw right in the base there, so you can adjust both the front iron sight and the actual shroud itself to whatever position that you want them in, and then tighten that down. So again, thread it onto your gun, position the iron sight in the position that you want, position the shroud where you want it, and then tighten down that bottom screw and the side screw on this back cap. And this shroud is also pretty cool, this barrel shroud combo I should say, and it does have a removable tip. So at that point, if we wanted, we could bring in our two Killhouse Weapon Systems silencers here. A little bit shorter one here with the ported look. I can thread that right on there. Or I could also thread on a little bit longer silencer, the 7-inch silencer, and that's going to look really great too. So a definite bonus with this tactical barrel here, in that you get all your all-metal Picatinny rails, you get that iron sight, but you also get a barrel with a removable tip on the inside, ready for some pretty awesome customization. So I can definitely recommend this barrel and shroud if you do have an A5, any sort of BT variant, or of course your Exit and Phenom, you just want to upgrade your gun all in one foul swoop. You can definitely do it with this barrel shroud here. So very, very cool. The silencers are definitely awesome. They look great on there. All these shrouds are just going to be perfect for anybody that wants to mount tactical accessories on their paintball gun and know that it's going to be secure on there and it's going to last. Alright guys, so hopefully that has given you a good look at some of the shroud offerings by Killhouse Weapon Systems, along with some of the really nifty silencers here. Now if you do want to see any of these barrel shrouds, definitely feel free to come into any of our 8 locations across Canada. We've got a ton of really nice guys and girls in those shops. We're more than willing to help you guys out. Keep in mind, if you can't make it into the stores, you can see all these items online at www.BadlandsPaintball.com. Now just to reiterate, make sure again that you double check with your barrel what barrel you have, how wide it is, what type of material it is, to make sure that it's going to fit with the individual shrouds. You can always come into the shop and ask. You can message us on Facebook or Twitter and ask about what sort of barrel you have and whether or not it'll work with the individual shroud. This is going to be very important. I mean, I said already, but if you have a carbon fiber barrel, it's probably not going to be the best idea to be screwing these shrouds on, as you may end up stripping it. If you have a really thick barrel, like I said, like the Sierra 1 here, you're going to really struggle fitting it inside of any of these shrouds. It's just not going to happen. They're just too thick. So again, just make sure you have the right barrel to match your shroud. And as I said, you can message us on Facebook, you can message us on Twitter, and ask us any questions that you might have. And while you're on there, like I always say, make sure you sign up for some of the sweepstakes that are happening. Just have a whole lot of fun on there. Post up your pictures. Let the whole world know what's going on in your paintball life. Now you're already watching this YouTube video, which is great. I much appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, please post up there, like it, subscribe. We really want to hear your comments. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future here. It's really, really helpful to me if you guys let me know what you want to see. Makes my job a whole lot easier. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped you out a little bit more and you're a little bit more stoked on some of the shroud offerings by Killhouse Weapon Systems. Now if you have a paintball gun already, stick one of these shrouds on there, throw your mask on, and like I always say, go out there and play some paintball. Catch you guys later.